I'll now invite Mr. Benjamin Boateng Asante from the Students' Accounts Office to enlighten you on your financial responsibilities and obligations. Mr. Boateng Asante.
Okay, thank you. I would like to welcome all students once again to the University of Ghana. I believe some of the students have had their undergrads here already, and some too are new in the system. And I also like to say welcome to everyone. And I believe each and every student here is going to have a fruitful period of education and social interaction in the University of Ghana. Now, my main purpose here is to discuss issues that has to do with school fees and residential fees with students. Now, my name again is Benjamin Boateng Asante. I'm an assistant to the main accountant, Mr. Samuel said, and he's not in at the moment, so I've been asked to stand in on his behalf. So our main duty here is to see to it that fees that students pay are reflecting on their accounts. What do I mean when I say account? Each and every student is given an ID number, and that ID number is your account as a student. So for instance, if your ID number is 10287613, that's your account. So assuming you have gone to open an account in a bank, the account number which is given you is and as a student, to your ID number or your ID numbers are your account numbers. Now, as a student, you have a responsibility with us as Student Account Office. Now, we always say that there is a triangular relationship between the students, the bank. If I say the bank, it means where the students make their fees or where they make their payments, and the University of Ghana. Okay, so when a student is given admissions, or when students are given admissions, on that letter, the letter states your program and the school fees you are supposed to pay, okay? So you are supposed to pay the fees at the bank. The bank also takes your record, your student's ID number, your full name, and any other details which is necessary, and forwards the records to our office to also enable us to credit to your account. That is what I term by a triangular relationship. So the student pays fees to the bank sends the records to the University of Ghana, and we receive it and also credits the students back in their account. And as I repeat again, where your account means into your ID numbers, where we take records and check your student statement. Now, as I said, students have responsibilities, okay? Anytime you make payments, whether be it fees, be it residential fees, it could be that you may have an issue with your statement of account. When you log in into your MIS with your student ID number and your PIN, it may happen that you may not be seeing your fees in your account due to one reason or the other. So when you have your proof as your receipt, we are able to follow it up quickly for you. So we always entreat students to keep their burden of proof, that's their receipt. Maybe you can get a file. Anytime you make payments, you put the receipt in the file in order not to misplace anything that will serve as evidence maybe sometime in the future. And anytime you make payments at the bank, you're supposed to state your student ID number and your full name, okay, which is very, very necessary. You state your student ID number and your full name. Your student ID number are the numbers which have been given to you on your admission letters. I usually advise students to keep it to keep it offhand, I should say, so that in case you are being asked when you get to the bank, you mention your student's ID number and the teller key is the right name and the right ID number. And you need to also be monitoring your statements to ensure your monies reflect in your account and they are in their right balances and their right columns. Okay, what do I mean by that? When you are given your admission letters, you are told that you use your PIN and your ID numbers to log into your MIS. In your MIS, you find your summarized statement of accounts. In your summarized statement of accounts is where you find your details. Okay, so if you make any payments, you see that detail of that payment over there, and you do your registration, so you see the details of the registration on your MIS. Now, when it comes to fee payments, payment of fees are usually done on admission or before registration. So a student cannot register whilst he or she hasn't paid her fees, his or her fees. Okay. So for graduate students, graduate students are told to pay 50% of their fees before they do their registration. Okay. And the balance of fees, which is the second semester. So assuming a student is not supposed to pay, is not able to pay the full fees in the first semester, and maybe pays 50% of the fees. The second 50% of the fees is supposed to be paid before the second semester begins. Okay, so assuming you are paying 1,000 cedis, you have been able to pay 500 cedis in the first semester. The rest of the 500 cedis should be able to pay them before, or you should be able to pay it before the second semester begins, in order for you to be able to do your registration. And fees can be paid at any time of the year. As we go on, I'll give you some advices on what to do. Those, for instance, especially those who find it difficult to make their fee payments whilst they are in school. Okay. So we have mode of payments. The mode of payment for Ghanaian students is cash. Mainly, it's mainly cash and checks, which are usually submitted at the cash office. And also, we have our very effective online system, that's the UGPay, which I usually advise students to use to avoid the queues at the bank and all that. Okay. So on the UGPay system, when you go into our website, you find our STS link. You log into the link. You click on the link and you log in with your PIN and your ID numbers. You'll find a section where you see fee payment and residential fees. When you click on it, it will show you the steps to do the payment, which is very swift. And therefore, you wouldn't need to go to the bank to maybe join queues or any other thing. Now, when it comes to checks at the cash office, okay, we don't take personal checks. Usually, checks that we take are maybe company checks, NGO checks, those who are providing scholarships and all that. For one or two reasons, we don't accept personal checks. So please bear that in mind. Now, the banks where you can pay your fees are EcoBank, Standard Chartered Bank, Absa Bank, Republic Bank, Consolidated Bank, Access Bank, Universal Merchant Bank, Stanbic Bank, GCB Bank, Prudential Bank, and our online UGPay system, as I mentioned earlier on. So you should need to take notice of all these banks. There are students who think maybe it's only a particular bank that they can pay their fees in. All these banks are available. Get to any of their branches and you can make your fee or your school fees or your residential payments. Now, we also, I believe there are also foreign students among you, okay? So for foreign students who have sponsors who are not able to, for one reason or the other, may not be able to deposit their fees right here in Ghana, and therefore there has to be some transfer from outside Ghana. These are the fee details. Of course, the fee details are also on the website. When you get there, you get the fee details. But whilst you are in this orientation, in case you have any phone, any technological gadgets, you can take a picture or even write the ID number, the account numbers down or the details down, then you send it to your sponsors anytime they want to make fee payment, which is the account name, University of Ghana Fee Collection Foreign Account, and the account number, which is stated clearly right there, the bank detail, which is EcoBank Limited, Legon branch, and the SWIFT code, which is EcoGAG. These are very essential details you need in order to be able to make your transfers from outside Ghana. And also you need to, it is essential to know that when you make your transfers, usually the banks give remittance forms. So when your sponsors make the transfers, they are giving remittance forms. It's advisable as a student to also take a copy of the remittance forms. Anytime you get on campus, you go to the EcoBank branch on campus to confirm the payment, to make sure that the payment which has been transferred from your sponsor has truly arrived and is inside your account. Okay. It's very, very necessary. So you confirm payments at the bank, or you can even come to our office at the student account office here, right on campus, to confirm your payments. And if necessary, we will even follow it up at the bank for you. And anytime your fees reflect, anytime you pay your fees also, maybe after 2 working or 3 working days, you need to be monitoring your statements of account to check whether the fees are reflecting there. It's very necessary, okay? We have encountered students who have refused to check and later, whilst going to take their clearance or coming to get their clearance for their certifications or thesis submission, realize that their fees are not there and they are found wanting as to why their fees are not reflecting in the account. So we entreat students to be monitoring their accounts daily or even on regular basis in order not to face these issues. Now for foreign students, the banks which are available for students to make their payments are EcoBank and Access Bank. Okay, so our friends in Nigeria have the opportunity to pay the fees even with the Naira, with their Naira currency. Okay, so they pay the Naira equivalent of their fees, which is in dollars. Okay, so for instance, if a student is supposed to pay $1,000 US, you can get to any Access Bank branch in Nigeria and pay the equivalent in Naira, and they're going to convert it to dollars for us. And also, they can also, all foreign students can also use the UG Pay online with the details of their Visa card and their MasterCard. Okay. As I mentioned earlier on, these are the details for foreign transfers and the banks which are also available for both Ghanaian students and foreign students. And now, when it comes to residential fees, okay, in the University of Ghana system, we have what we call the traditional halls, and those are the diaspora, which are we call the usual or unquote University of Ghana private halls. Okay, these are the private halls. These are the Elizabeth Francis Say, Janaka Hall, Professor Kapon Hall, and the Hila Liman Hall. The usual halls are halls which are allocated to a specific bank, which is the Cow Bank. Okay, so in case you are given admission or accommodation in any of these halls, you're supposed to pay only at Cow Bank. But for the other traditional halls like Ekwafo, like Legon, like Commonwealth Hall, like Mensa Saba, you can pay at any of the banks at all that I displayed earlier on, with the exception of the usual halls, which is only allocated to the Cow Bank, okay? And in addition to your residential fees, you are supposed to pay an additional levy for generator, which is 100 cedis, 100 cedis. Okay, so for instance, if your whole fee is 820 cedis, you are supposed to pay an additional 100 cedis. So in total, to be 920 cedis in that order. So you're supposed to bear that in mind. We have encountered students who are not aware that they are supposed to pay 100 cedi. So you need to take note of that and share with your friends who also get accommodation on campus. That's, I mean, the University of Ghana halls on campus. Now, we have gotten to a very important point where I really need the students to take note of. Now, when you make payments at the bank, anytime you get to the bank, you are only supposed to pick up a fee-paying voucher. You're not supposed to pick up a cash deposit slip. You're not supposed to pick up a check deposit slip. Make sure you have picked a fee-paying voucher, okay? And when you pick a fee-paying voucher, the 4 essential details you need to pay attention to and you need to check before you leave the bank is first and foremost your name, your full name, your ID number, which is the most important, your student's ID number, the amount that you paid, and the name of the institution. Okay, so we've encountered students who, one way or the other, paid monies to tellers, and for one reason or the other, their students' ID numbers were not correct. So anytime you pay your fees, fill in the form, make sure you have filled the right name with the right student ID number and with the right amount in words and in figures. Also, when you make the payment and you give it to the tellers, any printouts that they give to you, for instance, for what I've displayed on the screen, make sure the teller has typed your correct name, your correct student ID number, the correct amount that you paid, and make sure that it's into the University of Ghana account. Okay, so you realize that you see University of Ghana, all students, like on, you see the person's name and then the student's name or the payer, which is Jabin Charles Echampong, and the amount he paid. It's very, very essential. Please take note. Yeah, so now we are on online registration. Students, it is very important for students to note that online registration is what will enable you to access or to see your grades that you got in your various courses or your subjects that you did. Okay, so for instance, students come into our office and say, I've registered at the department level. They took in my details and I gave them the subjects and all that, but they are not seeing the grades in their MIS. You can only see your grades in your MIS when you have registered online. Okay, so make sure when you pay your fees and you have been given access, you make your registration, academic and residential registration online. And also you need to take note that the moment you get accommodation on campus, it means that when you are paying the fees, you need to factor in your academic fees and your residential fees. When you get accommodation and you only pay your academic fees, you can't register for academic fees. Okay, when you get accommodation, you need to make payments for both academic and residential. So for instance, for this academic year, previously, students could have paid 50% of their fees and 50% of their whole fee and go ahead and register. But now, as it stands, due to our quote unquote shift system, students are now allowed to pay 50% of their fees, but with the residential, you're supposed to make full payments, which is 100% since we are paying on semester basis. So you make sure you make all these payments before you can get access to register online. And bear in mind that you need to register online in order to access your grades in your MIS. And registration should be done every semester, every beginning of every semester. That's the first and the second semester. Now, earlier on, I said it will get to a point where I may give some advice to those who find challenges in paying their fees. Okay, so these are some things to note, some important things to note down. You need to have a payment plan, okay? So for instance, I advise students that usually the moment you get admission, you can pay 50%, one way or the other, you find a way of paying the 50%. But the rest of the academic years, if you think there's going to be any difficulty, then advise that any little money that you get, you pay into your account. Students are not given any specific time to make payments into their account. You can make payments at any time at all. So we had a student who was paying bits every week. Sometimes when the student gets 100 cedi, he pays into the account, 50 cedis pays into the account. And before any semester began, he had the full amount he needed to register online. So I advise that those who have challenges in payments, you sometimes pay any little amount you get into your account in order to avoid any frustration when time is due for registration. And you also need to confirm your payment online and keep all documents, as I mentioned earlier, whether be it at the bank or be it an online payment, you need to keep your receipts, which is very, very essential. And we also have scholarships around. I'm sure the financial aid head will explain more or give more details on that. I also encourage to take advantage. I would encourage all students to take advantage of the scholarships we have on campus and those private ones outside campus, especially those who have difficulties and are qualified, difficulties in paying their fees, but are qualified in getting the scholarships. And for graduate students, so there's extension and readmission. I think Professor Roberts Osei made detailed explanation on that. And also, when it comes to deferment, students are, the school give a kind of what I call some kind of allowance for students to defer. However, we don't encourage students to defer unless they have genuine reasons as to why they are supposed to defer. So it is allowed. Your students can defer a semester or a whole academic year and come back again to continue. But you would have to go through a required process through the academic affairs directorate. Now, when it comes to refund, students are allowed to take refund in case you have excess amounts in your account, but we don't encourage continuing students to come for refund because you are still a student and you will still be paying fees into your account in order to register. So we usually don't encourage continuing students to come for refund unless for genuine reasons, which you would have to justify before you can get the refund. And also, it's only final year students who have excess that we usually encourage to get refund. Now, when it comes to the issue of fraud, we strongly advise students to desist from anything that has to do with fraud. As far as we are students on campus, you're supposed to maintain your integrity and your reputation as a student. Anything that will let you engage in fraud against the school or against any fellow students will put you in trouble. Over the years, just a few years ago, we had encountered students who have been doing this dark web, stealing monies from people's accounts and selling them at cheaper prices to students in order to transfer fees into their account, which is criminal. So we strongly advise students to desist from anything that has to do with fraud in order to keep their reputation and their integrity to complete their schooling successfully. And now, financial clearance. So we usually give financial clearance to those who are coming for their certificates, those who are submitting their thesis. Okay, so we will only give the financial clearance if the student has settled every financial obligation. If you have settled your fees for the period, for the 2-year period you stayed, or for the 1-year period you stayed, then we can give you clearance for your certificate collection and your thesis submission. So anytime you come for clearance, make sure that you have settled all your fees required or all your fees obligated of you to pay. This is where I bring my presentation to an end. Anytime you want to contact us, that's our telephone number right there, 020-911-401. And our office is located at the John Sparta building, in short, JQB, at the ground floor, room G0 or G02. Our offices are always open to the students. In case of anything, any information you need about fees and financial issues, our offices are wide open to you, and we will attend to you the best possible way we can. And thank you, and enjoy your stay on campus. I believe each and everyone is going to have a successful stay on campus. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin Asante.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Covering all aspects of the students' financial responsibilities and obligations to the university.
Thank you too.